right. So tonight is the first part in a series I'm calling You Can Tuesdays. And the purpose behind this particular thing that I'm doing is just to teach you some easy things that you can do to use the laces in the store or laces you have on hand. So we're starting out with a tutorial on how to dye lace, but we will have some projects along the way too. So it's going to be different things, but they'll all be easy and simple, which is my goal, is to make things for the beginning crafter to learn. So that's why I called it You Can Tuesdays. All right, so the first thing I want to tell you is you're going to need vinegar to dye with, and you're going to need salt, just regular old salt. You're going to need laundry detergent. Unfortunately, I don't have liquid. I only ever have these pods, so I'm just going to cut it open and use a little bit. And then you're going to need your dyes. Tonight we're going to talk about chemical dyes. And we will do another second part to this series where we talk about natural dyeing. But tonight it's all about chemicals. So, of course, everyone is familiar with the RIT dye. So we're going to talk about how to use that. Then we're going to talk about how to use just plain old acrylic paint, which is, you know, you want the cheapy kind. You don't want to use your expensive paints on this, although you could, but I wouldn't. Then we're going to talk about Adirondack color wash, which is made by Tim Holtz. Let's see if I can get that out of the glare. Let me try turning these lights on, see if that helps. Whoops, wrong one. Oh, hang on, let me plug these in. See if this helps at all. I don't know if that made it worse or better. Okay, so there's some Adirondack color wash. And then we're going to use glimmer mist. And this one's by Tattered Angels, but you know, there's all kinds of different brands. I just grabbed something in every different color that I had. So I have orange, purple, red, and teal. Okay, so we're going to start out with the RIT dye. Okay, now to use RIT dye, you need to have it in boiling water. You need your water to always be hot. Since we're doing just small amounts here, I've boiled the water ahead, but I would recommend that you do this on the stove. The name of our teacher tonight, that's me, Deb. I'm the owner of Gone Artsy. Okay, so when you use RIT dye, there are a couple of different ways to do it. Let me pull up. First, let me pull up a link for you. And I will also put it on the page. Hang on one second. Okay, this is a, you're welcome, Julie. This is a PDF color guide to using RIT dye. And it gives you everything that you can ever imagine as far as combining different RIT dyes, because I mean they come in a wide variety as it is, but you can mix it and make every color of the rainbow. And I keep that right on my desktop because I've dyed things like my chair covers. I mean, I use it all the time. Oh, that's censored? Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to put it up on the fan page so I don't have to go back and fix everything right now. So it'll be on the fan page, and feel free to download it because it really is a great thing to have. All right, so RIT works best on natural and washable fabrics, okay? It works on 100% cotton, it works on linen, silk, wool, ramie, I don't know if I'm saying that right, ramie. It'll work on synthetics such as rayon and nylon. A lot of people think it won't, but it will. It'll work on fiber blends as long as it has some cotton in it or other dyeable blend of fabric. It'll work on nylon-based plastics such as buttons, fasteners, things like that. It'll work on wood, wicker, paper. It even works on feathers, but you have to let them dry and then fluff them back up, and cork. There are some things it will not work on as well. I'm going to say that. Now, the RIT dye company themselves says it won't work, but I guarantee you it does. It's just a very, very pale shade. and you don't want to wash it because it will come out. They say not to use it on 100% polyester, acrylic, acetate, fiberglass, spandex, and, well, of course, metal I don't think it would take, you know, on a metal fiber of any kind. A fabric with a rubber backing, like your bath mats, things like that. If it has a water repellent on it, it won't take the dye. You have to wash that water repellent out first. Fabrics that have a lot of bleach damage or extensive staining. Now, I will tell you this. If you have a fabric that has a stain, because I had a stain on my chair covers, and they were 100% cotton, Rit makes something called a dye remover. And that pretty much took the stain out 100%. I mean, there was just a slight little stain that, you know, like a faded, so it wasn't perfectly white like the rest of it. But it did take the dye, and you can't see it now. So just use the remover if you have something with a stain. You don't want to use it on fabrics that are dry clean only, or anything that you have to wash in cold water, like bathing suits, for instance, because it would have too much spandexy stuff in it. Okay, and of course you can't use it on some plastics. Some you can, but if it's a nylon base. But if it's like a polyethylene base, like or polycarbonate, like glasses, your glasses, it wouldn't dye your glass frames, things like that. But it will dye almost every fabric. It's just the intensity that you get. Okay? So, they recommend 3 gallons of water for a half a jar of the liquid or a half of a package of the powder, whichever you prefer. And a cup of whichever, salt or vinegar, depending on your fabric, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But because I'm just doing small sample pieces tonight, I'm not obviously going to use 3 gallons of water because, that dyes like a pound of clothes. So weigh your fabrics before you use them, and get them wet before you weigh them so that you know approximately what the weight is and how much dye to add. So remember, I will put up a list of what the proportions are. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is this teal color. Before we start, the very first thing you want to do is have your hot water, and then you want to put in about a tablespoon, if you're doing the full bath, which I'm not, of, oh, Paul, could you get me a wooden spoon? Or actually a plastic spoon would be better. Laundry detergent. And the reason that you do that is because it keeps the dye even. Now, again, on small pieces of lace, I rarely do this. But if you're going to do a big job, include it. Okay? I'm going to wait for him to bring me a spoon. I'm sorry, I did forget that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is a cotton fabric. When you're using a cotton fabric, and I'm just going to, just going to cut a piece off here. So I've just got a strand of it, and this is from the store. This one, thank you. Okay, and it's the scalloped lace one. I don't know if you can, I can't get that glare off tonight for some reason. So I just cut a little piece because I'm only doing samples to show you tonight. Okay, so I'm going to stir that laundry detergent up in there and get it really good and dissolved. Okay. Okay, the next thing you have to do before adding your lace is get it wet. So I have another pan of water over here, and I'm just going to dip it in here. It's cold water, and you need that for afterwards anyway. So now I've got my wet piece of lace. Okay, I'm going to set that down. And for this small amount, I'm going to use about a capful. Now you can adjust this because obviously the more you put in, the brighter your colors, the more intense your colors are going to be. Okay? And again, I rarely use the laundry detergent when I'm just doing small pieces of lace, but if you were to dye a bigger item, it helps it dye more evenly, so be sure to put it in. Okay, so now I've got my mixture. I hope you can see that really good. And these are old pans, by the way. You don't want to ever do it in ceramic or something like that that might stain. You want to use either an old set of pans, glass, plain glass, or a plastic bucket, or you can do it in the washing machine as well. But for lace, I wouldn't recommend the washing machine. Okay, so now I'm going to take my piece of lace and I'm going to stick it in here. Okay, and you want it to sit in here. Can you bring me the other pan of water? For about 5 minutes, and you would keep this hot, obviously, on the stove. And you want to keep, agitating it. And let it soak for, depending on how long and how bright you want it is how long you let it soak. So I would just pull it up every once in a while and check. Now, so you can see it's only been in there a couple of seconds. I'll get it out so you can see. But it's already starting to get like a bluish tint to it. And I'll put it next to the white one so you can see. So here's the white, and there's the blue. So it's already starting to take some dye. Okay? Paul, I need the other pan of water, please. Okay, and I'm going to just keep agitating this. Now, after you've had it in here for about 5 minutes, since this is cotton, you're going to add salt. And what the salt does is helps the cotton to absorb the colors. I'm not going to do the links tonight, guys. Sorry. I'm limited on time because of my knee, and so I'm not going to worry about links tonight. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So while that one is soaking, we're going to move on. Ow, hot. Very hot, very hot, very hot. We're going to move on. We're going to do this a different piece of lace. Let me cut a piece off here. Oh, sorry. No, I'm going to use a piece of synthetic lace this time. Okay. So I'm just going to use this one. It's the belt lace. And that also is from the store. So again, just a small bit of laundry detergent because I'm doing a small amount. I'm going to rinse my spoon off so I don't transfer colors. Okay, get that mixed up. And again, do this on the stove. The only reason, I'm doing it here is because I can't move my camera up there. I'm going to mix that up really good. Okay. Once again, I'm going to add about a capful, give or take. Stir it up. Cut a piece of this off. Okay. All right. And again, I'm going to get it wet. It's got to be wet. Your lace, your fabric, whatever you're using, always has to be wet, even if you're using wood. Make sure it's wet before you put it in. And then I'm going to throw it in there. Okay. And I'm going to stir that around for a little bit. Now, your synthetics do not take the dye as well, so you're going to get a more muted color. If you want it more intense, add more dye, but that's not going to get you, still not going to get the bright colors that you get on cotton. Okay, so I'm agitating that a little bit. Go back over to this one. So this one's coming. Okay, all right, so that's probably been about 5 minutes. So it calls for a cup of water for 3 gallons of a cup of salt for 3 gallons. So I'm just going to pour a little bit in here. So I'm pouring the salt in, and I don't even know if I don't measure, I just do it. You want to wait that 5 minutes because it helps it to get that beginning dye, and then the salt will help it to absorb more. So get it all stirred up nice. Keep agitating. Okay, I rinse my spoon because I got salt in that one. And let's see how this one's coming. Okay, so we're getting a light dye on this one. If I can get it out of here. Alright, come on. There we go. We're at about the same point we were before. And I'll lift that up so you can see. So just like the other one, you know, it's taking that light amount of dye. This, however, is not going to get a whole lot brighter. Okay, so we're going to pretend that that's been 5 minutes. And on synthetic fabrics, you want to add, get this open, you want to add your vinegar. And you can use white or apple cider. I happen to prefer apple cider, so that's usually what I have around the house. So I'm just going to pour a little bit in. Again, this is going to help break down some of the fibers a little bit in the synthetic and help it absorb. So stir that up really good. So remember, it's always cotton is salt and synthetic is vinegar. It doesn't really matter. You can do it right at the beginning. They recommend waiting the 5 minutes because it helps it absorb. Okay, did I do the same thing? Pam, no, I'm doing the synthetic. Did you miss that part? Okay, rinse off my spoon while I'm waiting for her to answer. Stir this one up. Oh yeah, this one's getting a nice bright color on it. Now, I didn't put I only put a cap full of dye in here, so I'm going to show you where we're at. Sure. Okay, Julie, when you're using cotton fabrics, like this lace is mostly cotton, the thread is cotton, and then it's got a little bit of acrylic behind it. You're going to use, you want to keep it always hot at 140 degrees if possible. Now, I'm not going to be able to do that tonight because I'm doing it down here, not at the stove. But you're going to put in first a little bit of laundry detergent, just a little bit when you're doing lace. If you are, and I will put up the amounts on the website. And I don't measure when I do just lace, unless I'm doing a lot at one time, okay? So for cotton, you put the detergent in and then add your dye, and you can add however much you want. I just put a capful in to show you to start with, okay? And we've gotten to this point, okay? And then after it sat for 5 minutes, I added some salt. And the salt helps it to absorb more of the color. So we're at a pretty, we're at a nice dusty teal color right now. So I'm going to stick it back in there. Now, they don't advise doing this, but I do it all the time. And that's just I add more dye. If I want it brighter, I add more dye. And they say not to do that because it, can cause it to be irregular colors. But I've never had any trouble. If you were doing a big item, yeah, I could see it. But this little one, it doesn't really matter. Now, it's a good idea to wear gloves. My hands will be stained by the end of the night. So I added another capful. And we're going to let it sit in there and see if how much darker it gets. Okay? Rinse my spoon again and go back to this one. Okay, and for the synthetic one, Julie, synthetics do not dye as bright as cotton does. So this is what you're getting. It's a much lighter shade. And of course, while they're wet, they're going to be darker anyway. So the synthetics you use, the same formula. You start out with a little laundry detergent and then add your dye. Make sure your fabrics are wet when you put them in. You drop it in, wait the 5 minutes, and then add a little vinegar. So it's salt for cotton, vinegar for synthetics. Okay? All right, so we saw where that got us. Let me add a little bit more to this one. And see how that goes. Stir that up. See if we can get it even brighter yet. Okay, and while we're doing this, I'm going to go ahead and throw in a piece of this one because I want you to see. Okay, this one has cotton threading on it, but I'm going to put it in the synthetic dye because the background is synthetic, and I want that to come up with some Yes, I know, Pam. I've just had so much going on with both my knee surgeries. So I want the background to see, so you can see how that dyes. So, whoops, almost put it in without getting it wet. Okay, got it wet. I'm going to throw it in. Now, the vinegar is not going to hurt the cotton by any means. It just takes better in salt. So, okay. All right, so it's only been in there a few seconds. And you can see this is like a nylon backing, that it does actually dye it. It's just a paler color than the cotton. Okay? So that's why I wanted to show you this, is you can see the contrast there. One is very pastel and the other one is a little brighter. So I'm going to stick that back in there and let it dye some. Okay, so let's find this piece and see how we're doing. I think we're done with this one. Yep. Okay, so with adding that one extra capful, now you'll be able to see how much brighter that is. So I guess what I'm saying is you want to play. Take some scraps and play and decide, how much brightness you want. What colors, are you looking for pastel? Are you looking for bright, deep color? What is it you want? And then adjust your amount of dye accordingly. Okay? Now, after you take it out of your dye bath, you're going to rinse it. And you want to keep rinsing and keep rinsing. Because you've got detergent, you've got salt, you've got, dye, all kinds of things on it, especially if you're using the powder dyes. It takes even longer than the liquid dyes. Paul, can you help me? Yeah, this teal is one of my favorites. It's what I put on my dining room chairs.
Sorry, what do you need?
Okay, I need you to dump this and rinse it, and then fill it up with water and boil it again.
Okay.
I'll keep this good now. Thank you. Okay, so I rinsed it out really good in clear water. You would do this in your sink under running water, but don't do it unless it's a stainless steel sink. If you have a porcelain sink, it could possibly dye it, so I wouldn't risk it, and I would just get a bowl of water and just soak it. Okay, so there it is. Now, to heat set it and make it permanent with RIT dye, you can do that, and you're just going to throw it in the dryer. Okay, you can hang it to dry. And, if you're just using it for arts and crafts, it doesn't matter if it's washable or not. But if you're using it for sewing or something like that, you want to make sure you heat set it. Okay, so just throw it in the dryer. All right, so that's that piece, and that is with RIT dye. So I'm going to rinse off my RIT dye bottle here because I kind of spilled a little on the outside. Okay, so that is the cotton. Now, let's test these synthetic ones. Okay. Okay, now, this actually came out almost a little bluer. And let me see if I can show you the difference. Can you see? It's got a more blue tone. And that's caused by A, it being synthetic, and B, it adding the vinegar. So, again, play with your colors, and that's why I'm going to upload the PDF for your colors, so you can adjust it according to what the website tells you on that. Kim says, thanks, Paul, for helping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to rinse that one off now, really good. And remember, they will be lighter when they dry. And let's see if I can't get him to throw them in the dryer for me. Okay, so I've rinsed that, and you can see it's even lighter yet. Synthetics do not take as well, so if you want pastels, synthetics work great. They will never, ever be a bright color. Okay? But you can see, let's see, where do I have another piece of that? Yeah. You can see it did color. It's just not very bright. Where this cotton took a lot better. Okay? So that's your differences in cotton and in synthetic with RIT dye. Okay, Paul, can you take this one? Rinse it and bring it back. Thank you. I mean, rinse it, fill it up, and bring it back. Yeah. Okay, so the next one we're going to do, because we got to wait for the water to boil, is we're going to use this color wash. And let's see if I can get it up there. There we go. Adirondack color wash. This is in Sunset Orange. It says on it that it's for papers, fibers, fabrics, and more. So, now make sure you protect your work surface. It does get everywhere. I just have an old black towel here that I'm using. So I'm going to use it first on that same piece that we used before with the synthetic and the cotton. Okay, and we're just going to spray it on. They don't say you have to get it wet on the directions or anything. Yep, spray directly onto an absorbent surface. Heat set with an iron or heat tool. For fabric, after heat setting, rinse in water to remove excess dye. Okay, now, this does give you really intense colors. I mean, I've sprayed it several times, and you can see you would want to flip it over and do the other side, but I'm not going to for the sake of this. You can see that's a really intense thing, but the nice thing about it is you can put it in water and tone it down some. So now we have a lighter color, and this actually shows, the cotton part actually shows a little better. Okay, now when you're using synthetics, you have to put it in between two pieces of toweling or something to iron it, or you're going to melt your nylons and other synthetics. Like I said, I would just throw it in the dryer. So I'm going to rinse that again. I want to get it pretty light on the background and see what happens. Okay, yeah, so now see, I've washed almost all of the background out of that. Can you see that? It's just got a little bit in there. And I'm not liking that, so I'm going to spray it again. I want it to be just a tad darker. And I'm just going to kind of rub it in. That will get some of it off. Okay, so now I still have a little bit of an orange background, but this is nice and bright. Okay, so that you would throw in the dryer. Okay, let's try that out on a cotton piece. So I just have a little piece of this embroidered cotton trim. And again, all of these are in the store. I don't have links tonight, but you can go browse. Okay, and we're going to try the same thing. We're just going to spray it on. And it's not going to look much different than the other one because it had cotton fibers on it. But I'm going to show you that you need to do the back too. Okay, now, then my recommendation, because you can, I don't think you can see this, maybe. See how it has some little white areas where it didn't, the spray didn't hit it? I crumple it up because you're gonna put it in the dryer anyway. So I crumple it up and really push that dye into it. And now I think you can see that those white spots are gone. Okay. Okay. So that is really simple. The color wash is one of the simplest ways to do it, but it does have to be heat set. Now you could do that one with a heat tool or with an iron, or just throw it in the dryer. But it does have to be heat set. And I would recommend that really, really, really stains your hands. The color wash, make sure you wear gloves. Okay. All right, so the next thing is using glimmer mist. And I think lots of people have seen this. I can't get it to focus. There we go. Lots of people have seen this used on seam binding. But I don't think anyone has really shown it used on lace. So we're going to do that tonight. It's basically the same thing as that. But what I want to do first, get this out of the way, is turn this towel down so that I don't have orange bleeding onto it. I'm going to set all my laces aside. Sorry about that, but I want it to be a true color and not get that orange in the background. Okay, so I've got that turned down. Get these back up here. Okay, and let's try this music note one. Let me cut a piece off.
The small one's ready.
Okay, you can bring it whenever you're ready. Okay, so this is the music note, and again, it's got cotton fibers and then the nylon background. Most of the lace, the embroidery is cotton. Occasionally, you'll get 100% synthetic, like this piece. Okay? All right, so let's do the glimmer mist. Hey, Rhonda. We already did the Rit dye, so you'll have to watch it again later, and we've done the color wash. So now we're starting on glimmer mist, and I'm using purple, fully purple it's called. So again, we're just going to spray it on here, hopefully. Yep, there it goes. Okay, saturate it really well, and rub it in. Wear gloves, ladies, unless you don't care about your hands, which I don't particularly because I've always got something on them. Okay, now you would want to spray the back if you were doing, you know, a full piece. But since this is just a sample, I just rubbed it in. Okay. Now, I think you can see that. Hopefully you can see without the splotches in my hand. Here, let me put it on the back. So you've got a light misting of purple there and a bright purple there. Okay? So if we rinse it, let's see what happens. Whoops, I put it, oh shoot. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to go in the cold water, but that's all right. That won't hurt anything. Okay. Cold water. And when you put that in the cold water, you get a perfectly white background again and a toned down purple. So glimmer mist will not stick to your nylon or to your synthetic fabrics. Glimmer mist is the same as, it's Tattered Angels is the brand. You can also get, you know, like the, oh shoot, Rhonda, help me. Heidi Swap makes some. Tim Holtz makes some. I mean, there's a bunch of different companies that make something similar. I just happened to grab this one because I wanted a different color from the other stuff. So that was the first one I grabbed. Okay. All right. So we've got that purple on the that. So you can see by that it's going to attach to cotton without a problem. But I'll do a cotton piece anyway. So I cut a little piece of that one off, and we'll spray it down. And this you have to use, you know, several good pumps of sprays to get it to get in there. And again, you want to always mush it around or crumple it up or whatever, and spray your backs to get so that you don't have those white edges showing. Okay, so you can see I crumpled it up so the white edges are for the most part covered up because I didn't do a hugely fantastic job. And there we've got the bright, pretty purple. Okay. Now, if you rinse it off, it's not going to tone down because it's the cotton. Okay. And you see that it didn't spray. I didn't get it sprayed evenly. So there's a little multi-tone to it. So this is my least favorite way to do it. It's messiest. It's not reliable. Yes, it would work with Lindy's. Lindy's is the same as Glimmer Mist basically. But again, it's my least favorite way to do it because it is so I mean, look at my hands. And it's very messy. It doesn't take it consistently. I really prefer the Rit dye method. That's my favorite way, or the way I'm about to show you coming up. Color wash works really well too, but it's messy too as well. So, okay. All right, one more time I'm going to flip this so I'm not all covered in purple on my arms. Okay, now we're back to a pan of water. And we're going to show the last way for tonight of chemically dyeing. Okay, and I'm going to use this pretty synthetic piece here. And I'm going to use the cotton crochet here, this one, for the last way. So we've got cotton and we've got synthetic again. Now, for this one, you need your water hot again, and I would get it boiling, and then you're going to need your craft paint, okay? Now, you do not want to put in a lot of craft paint at one time. You definitely have to stir it really well, okay? So I'm just going to squeeze some in here. And I don't have exact measurements on this one, guys, because this is just a learn it and do it yourself thing. Then you want to stir it up really good and get that paint so it's not clumpy at all. Okay? So you really got to take your time and stir this one and really work it. Because if you don't, you're going to have acrylic blotches on your lace. So really, really make sure they're out. And you can, you know, lift it up and look at it and see I've got a couple of blotches. I don't know if you can see that, but that aren't mixed up. So keep on stirring. This one takes a while to stir. Okay, and the color that I'm using on this is called Cardinal Crimson, which is a, you know, a pinkish red. Show you. It looks redder on here than it really actually is. So, okay, still got a little bit in there. If you had a metal egg beater, would work really good on this. You know, like a whisk. Okay, so I'm going to throw them both in here. Doesn't matter on these. Oh, I should have told you to wet it first, and I forgot. So I didn't do that, so hopefully it takes. If not, we'll do it again. And stir it up. It really does make a difference when you're working with water-based stuff if you get the lace wet first. I'm not sure why. I guess it opens the fabric pores, but it does make a difference in how it accepts the color. This you need to constantly agitate because you do not want any of that acrylic settling. So you want to constantly agitate, and you want to do this for probably 5 minutes. Now, I'm not going to do it for that long tonight because you'll get the idea. It just won't be as vibrant. And I apologize for that, but I am limited by my doctor on how long I can sit in a chair at one time. So getting close to my limit. So let's pull out the cotton one first. Yeah, and you can see, because I didn't put it in the water, it's kind of splotchy. But it does take the dye. And if you do it between your fingers, and maybe, let's see if that makes a difference. I've always done it when it was wet, so. Okay, so you can see there. And because I didn't get it wet, it is still splotchy. So let me redo that. I'm going to find another piece of cotton. Here we go. We got, oh, I don't need that now after all, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to get it wet and throw it in. But I think I'm going to add a little more paint too. Let's get this one out and see how it's doing. Now this is your synthetic. Do not rinse these before you dry them. You want to heat set. I'm sorry, Julie. You want to heat set these before you were to rinse them, if you even want to rinse them. Okay, but that one turned out really pretty. It's nice. It's, again, it's, you know, a little splotchy because of the not getting it wet first. But yeah, let me put it in some cold water. I'm going to rinse it, and we're going to do that again. Okay, I want to add a little more paint. Okay, now you can see I rinsed it, and it came out a pastel-y, but you can see where I had some red paint that got stuck in the fibers because I hadn't got it mixed well enough. Can you see that? So that's why I said you really got to be careful when you're using acrylic paint. It'll dye beautifully, but it takes a little more work. Okay, got a little more in there. Let's get that mixed up good. And the only kind of whisk that I have has that silicone on it, and I'm afraid it will dye, it will stain it, so that's why I didn't bring that down. Okay, it seems to be mixed up pretty good. Smush on the bottom here. Okay, there is one more thing I'm going to show you after this, so don't run away. All right, so we've got both our pieces. I'm going to dump them in there, stir them up, and we're going to constantly agitate. So the reason that I thought this was so important to show tonight is because I carry, I would say 90% of the laces in my store are either white or ivory. And I did that with purpose because it is so, so easy to dye. And I have people ask me all the time, you know, why don't you carry colored lace? And I could. It's, you know, it's not that I couldn't. It's just this way I can get it dyed to whatever color I want for my project. I can match it. So I guess I just wasn't thinking along the lines of people not knowing how to do this, because I grew up using Rit dye. So that's why I thought this class was so important tonight. Okay, so we've agitated it quite a bit. I'm going to pull it out. Like I said, you would want to leave this for about 5 minutes. Do not rinse it. Heat set it before you throw it in the dryer, but there you can see it's come out a really pretty kind of pinky red. Okay, it's more pink on the synthetic than red. Okay, now I'm going to pull out the cotton piece. Oh yeah, that made a big difference getting it wet in cold water. So I got it wet in cold water and then stuck it back in, and now you can see how bright and vibrant that is. Okay, and it's definitely still the pinky red because that's the color that, you know, whatever is in your acrylic bottle is going to be watered down, so it's going to be not as bright. So just remember that. Okay, so that's working with acrylic paints. Now, get that out of here. One of the things, and I don't have the Rit dye down here to show you, but you can do the same thing with any of the types of stuff. So I'm just going to, oh, ouch, sorry. Got to stand up for a sec. Okay, so I'm going to grab a paintbrush, and this is just a flat angled paintbrush. Okay, and I'm going to show you, cut a piece on a scrap of this. Okay, and again, I'm not doing links tonight because it takes too long for me to get in there and get the links and get back up. So, yeah, Rhonda, I didn't. Sorry. I should have done it ahead of time, but I really apologize, you guys. I'm doing the best I can with having I'm still recovering. So, all right, so we're going to use that lace. And what we're going to do on it is we're going to paint it using dye. Okay. All right, so I've got my watered down acrylic here, and I'm going to stick my paintbrush in it. And I think I want, now, you don't want it to drip. That's a big key. And then just go in and carefully color your petals. Okay? When you see things that say hand dyed, this is what they're talking about. They're hand dyeing it either with paintbrushes or with, you know, any of these chemicals or natural dyes. But you're paying a premium to have somebody else do it for you. So I say, let's learn to do it ourselves because it's really easy and it doesn't take long. Okay, so I've painted the petals on that flower. Rinse off my brush. Now I'm just going to take this orange color wash and we're going to paint with that now. And I'm just going to take the top off and dip my brush in. And remember, you don't want it dripping, so you don't need to stick it in very far. And you might even want to rub it off on the side. Okay, so I've got just a little bit on here. And I'm going to go around and do the outer part now. And this really doesn't take long. It takes a little patience to make sure that you stay in the lines, but it doesn't take long. Okay. And you can dilute this if you don't want this as bright, the color wash. You know, it's however you want to do it. Oops, I got a little onto the pedal there. I'm going kind of fast and not taking it real slow. You do have to take your time if you don't want that to happen. Okay, and there you can see how we've painted lace, and it's really easy. You know, I don't know, Kim. I haven't tried alcohol inks on them. I've only ever used things that, you know, say they can be used on fabric other than acrylic paint like this when it's watered down. I don't know. Now, when you do this, again, do not rinse it until you heat set it, okay? So let's go one more. Let's go with the glimmer mist. Let's see, what do I have over here? Yeah, I have a teal glimmer mist. Rather than the purple, I'm going to try the teal. Whoops, I stuck in the wrong pan of water too. Okay, so this one is called Electric Blue. Whoops, Electric Blue, and it also is a glimmer mist. Okay, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to stick my brush down in there and just get a little tiny bit on there. And for this, I would probably do the leaves, so I'm going to just do this leaf up here so you can see, since I'm using this color. And I do want to show you one other thing on hand painting like this. Okay, and there you got, oh, shoot. Okay, guys, see, you can see even on live camera, accidents happen. So now we have a multicolored piece of lace, but you can still see where the painting was, except on the green a little bit. Let me grab another piece. Hang on. We're going to do this again. My hand's clean before I touch it. Okay, let's try it on this synthetic one, this little flower piece. Okay, so I'm going to lay that down. Let's see, what's the front? Yep, that's the front. Okay, and this time I'm going to use the blue just in the center, and I'm going to very carefully just dab it and let the fibers pull it into the circle part. Sorry if my head's in the way. Okay, so there we go. And you can see I've put it in the center, but it is spreading into the other areas a slight bit. I said I don't know, Kim. I've never tried it. I've only ever tried things that were meant to be used in on fabrics. But it wouldn't hurt to try. And, you know, it's just alcohol ink. I mean, as soon as the alcohol evaporates, it's going to dry. But I would make sure that you heat set it just like any other thing. Okay, so I've got that center. Now I'm going to take the orange and I'm going to do, and this is the color wash now. This is the Adirondack color wash. And I'm going to do these outer petals. Now, for this, I'm going to put it in the center and I'm going to let it pull its way. You don't want to put it right next to the middle because it will then bleed into your blue, because the blue has already bled into the other. But that's okay because it kind of gives it a neat effect. Okay, I'm just going around and painting it. Very simple technique. Very, very simple to get your own hand-dyed personal colors on lace. And these are, I'm just showing different products on how to use them. Rit dye, you could do the same thing, but I've already dumped it out, so I'm not gonna show you that one. But almost everybody has the sprays and things on hand, so, or acrylic paint. Okay, so now we've got the center of it colored. Whoop, I don't want to do the same thing. I'm trying to keep it in frame. Here we go. Okay. All right. Rinse my brush again. And now let's go back to that pan of acrylic paint. Now you're going to have to stir it because it will settle. And just get a little on your brush. And now we're just going to go around the edges and just dab it on. Okay? And of course, because we're using, you know, very little on the brush, it's going to be a very pastel-y color, especially since it's on a synthetic piece of lace. But you end up with a beautiful hand-painted piece when you're all done. Okay, so we're getting to the end here. Just dabbing, like I said, just dabbing it on. If it's, you know, if you have a really intricate piece, obviously you would have to paint more carefully, but this, so you can just dab. And there we have it. Now I know that pink doesn't show up very much because it's very, very pale. Let's see if I can find a piece of white paper. I'll set it against that instead of my skin. There we go. Now you can see the pink on it. Okay, so we've got the pink layer, the orange layer. The pink is the acrylic, the orange is the color wash, and the green in the center is, or well, it looks kind of green now because the orange bled into it, was the blue glimmer mist. Okay, now one of the things I really wanted to point out, and I'm going to put it back on my hand so you can see, is that when they do bleed together, you get this really cool two-toned effect. I'm going to get it really close so you can see that. See how that center looks two-toned? And I love that. That's what gives it the, I know, Rebecca, and we're just about done. It gives it a really personalized and artsy touch to it. So, okay. So, that's the tutorial for tonight. This is going to be an ongoing series. The next time I do this, I think it's going to be the 1st of next month. We'll use natural dyes. But tonight I wanted to show you some chemical ways. I'm sorry that I can't stay longer and talk more, but I am over my doctor's limits, like Rebecca said. But again, we'll run through these real quick. Okay, so here we have the RIT dye. Okay, and this is cotton, and this is synthetic. And it's starting to dry, so it's starting to get a little lighter. Here we have the color wash, the cotton, and the synthetic. Okay, these you would heat set before you ever rinsed them or did, you know, if you wanted to get them wet in any way. Okay, this is the glimmer mist, and this is nylon, and it completely washes out of the background. You just have it on your threads. And then this is on cotton. Okay, then we have your acrylics, which work really well, but they give you a lighter color of what the bottle is. So that's the cotton. And this is the synthetic. Now the synthetic did get a little splotchy. So like I said, I didn't have it mixed up as well because I would use a whisk normally. Okay, and then our last thing was our hand painted, which I love to do. I think it turns out so pretty. Okay. So that's our dyeing technique using some different chemicals. I hope you enjoyed it. I will put what goes with what and the PDF for the color guide on the Gone Artsy website. And I really appreciate everyone for coming, and I hope this was informative because it really is just so easy. And I hate it when people say, oh, it's hand dyed, and they charge you, you know, a ton to do that. It's simple. Do it yourself and you get any color you want. Alright guys, thanks again for coming, and I will see you in 2 weeks for another edition of You Can Tuesday, and we'll be making a project at that time. Alright, thanks, and I hope I see you over on the Gone Artsy Challenge. Everybody get your Valentine's things in. Night guys.